lovely people. Welcome back to another episode of Living with Purpose. If you're new to my channel, my name is Queen and I film about the Christian faith, food, and public health. Today's episode is going to be amazing and definitely very impactful. We have Brother Lanre and he'll be sharing about how he has been dealing with the chronic pain condition. Thank you so much, Brother Lanre, for your time. Thank you for, being here.
Thank you for having me, Sister Quinn.
Thank you. So I'm going to start off with the first question. Tell us about what happened.
So I was tackled dangerously when I was playing soccer, and a kid kind of kicked and swept me off the floor. So I fell and hit my lower back, like the buttocks region on the ground on the floor. So that was how it all began.
Wow. And so you were playing soccer, you said?
Yes, I was playing soccer. This was about 16 to 17 years ago.
Wow.
And so initially, I felt a little bit of daze, a little bit out of it, but few seconds, I stood up, continued playing, and it was a gradual thing. I started noticing months after numbness, tingling in my groin. So gradually over the years, it now became a lot of sitting pain. Like I would notice after sitting for some hours, I would feel intense pain in my buttock and and a lot of fatigue also with sitting. So over the years, it now became really bad and unbearable.
Wow. And so how long have you been dealing with this condition?
I would say roughly 16 to 17 years, I guess.
Wow.
But the initial stages was kind of a gradual thing. I didn't take it as seriously as I should have at the initial stage because I thought it was something that was gonna be very light and just go away with time, but that wasn't the case.
Wow. Wow. So over 16 years. So it happened when you were young. And so like over those years, how have you been coping with the condition?
Yeah, it's been a long journey because initially there were so many things I didn't know about how to deal with such conditions. So initially, I wasn't sitting on a cushion. Now I sit on a cushion. So that's a major thing. I should have been sitting on a cushion immediately after something like that happened. In fact, I should probably have taken maybe months or maybe depending on how my body responds, rest. But I kept on, going about my activities, going to school, commuting to school, and just sitting long days in class because I was in high school back then. That was actually the wrong way to go about it. The right way is actually rest, apply, eat ice, relax, take time off, sit on a cushion if you have to sit. But I didn't do that. I didn't know that those were the things I needed to do. And even when I saw like a PCP, this was back in Nigeria. I think this was like months after when I realized this thing was still lingering.
Yeah.
There was no assessment. There was just he just physically looked at that area and felt doesn't think there's anything wrong.
Wow.
So, but so nowadays, because it's been years now, I sit on the cushion. That's important, and I've had some treatments to help the condition. But what complicates this kind of issue is the fact that diagnosis was not done in time. So as time passes, there's a lot of symptoms that follow. It now becomes difficult to pinpoint which symptom was the origin, like what kind of precipitated all these symptoms that followed. So but over the years, in recent years, I've had lots of physical therapy and I've had some treatments in that area because it became very like the pain kind of spread over my pelvic floor. And there's so many nerves, so many muscles involved. So you're now trying to find which one is it. Like
because there's a lot of referred pain. So
exactly.
You don't know where the pain is originating from. You can only kind of point, but you don't know within your body.
You don't know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Wow. And so So as you've been dealing with this, and you said that you wish you would have like sat on a cushion, so it's kind of like information. If you had that information, you would be able to have dealt with it better. And then
Exactly.
also, yeah, and also you talked about diagnoses, you know, because sometimes a lot of, you know, individuals or physicians, they might address the symptoms, but if they don't address the root cause, like you said, it will just manifest and you don't even.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. In fact, the first when I got to the US, my first primary care physician
Mm,
um, is a general general doctor. So he doesn't. It wasn't. I didn't realize that general doctor may not be equipped in that area.
yeah.
So medications like Motrin, Tylenol, they did absolutely nothing. They
Wow.
did nothing. And even when I started getting like imaging tests, this was like way back in 2008, 9,
Mm.
still, I didn't realize that the imaging was done for my lumbar region.
Oh, wow. That's your back.
And yeah, but sometimes if the actual point of injury is in the sacral region, that
Hmm.
imaging is not going to show the sacral region. So all those issues come into play and they affect diagnosis, they affect treatment, they affect, the I guess the prognosis, they affect everything.
Hmm. Definitely. Wow. Yeah, because if they're looking at the wrong region,
Yeah,
they're gonna say everything is right. It's okay,
exactly.
but you need to look at where the actual injury
Yeah. And that
was.
was just the reality. They kept saying there was nothing, and my
Wow.
pain kept increasing, became
Hmm.
excruciating, so it was kind
Yeah.
of very confusing.
Yeah, and that's why it's important for us to know that the patient is the expert of their body. You know, you can't tell a patient how they feel. They know how
Exactly.
they feel. Wow.
Exactly.
And so, with all of that that's going on, how has it been navigating the healthcare system? You kind of pointed at it, but maybe give us a little more detail.
So, yeah, I had to become proactive. So I think this was about 2000 and initially, I deferred to my the primary care I had back then. I deferred to him, but I noticed sometimes the kind of insurance you have matters too. So, but I noticed I wasn't getting anywhere and the pain was becoming worse. So I had to turn to the internet to do my own research. I
Mhm.
stumbled across certain things that I felt kind of mirrored my symptoms.
Mhm.
And the reason why I couldn't go further was insurance because the physicians I saw listed online did not accept my insurance.
Wow.
And at the same time, this was at the time where the pain had reached like a crescendo. I had to literally drop my classes in college. This was like 2010, and that was like I was about to start my junior year or something, sophomore to junior year. So I had to stop for like 1 or 2 semesters. In between the semester, I stopped. Then the following semester, because the pain was too, I couldn't. When I would sit down in class, my my mind would just be consumed by the burning, the
Hmm.
tingling, stabbing sensation. I could not even things that I could do naturally before the pain started. Things that I enjoyed doing, all those things became impossible to do.
Wow.
So, I turned to the internet. That I wasn't able to see those physicians, but the internet was where I found out that you need a cushion. If you have any form of put off pain, if you don't even know what it is, it could be
Mm.
sciatica, it could be pudendal neuralgia, piriformis syndrome,
Mm.
whatever it is, you need find a cushion that works for you because
Wow.
not all cushion would work for you. So I started buying different types of cushion to figure out which one would work, and
Mhm.
that helped a little bit. And at the same time, I was taking up. That was the time I started taking tramadol just to control the pain, and tramadol helped a little bit to kind of just make me feel a little bit like I was living and not just existing and going through the motions
Wow.
because it just calmed it a little bit and brought it down. And tramadol was what helped me to now decide to after like 1.5 semesters out of school, I went back. At that point I just tried my best because literally I dragged myself to the finish line essentially just to get the degree done. So when I got done, the next thing was trying to find a job, but it was just confusing because I missed recruiting season because I majored in accounting. I was trying to, everything just confusing and chaotic to me. So I started looking for jobs. I would go somewhere for interviews that were far. Even driving there, I was in pain. So I was thinking, how am I going to be able to do this job when driving to the place of work, I'm still in it. So it was just confusing to me. You know, was so it took me like the first job I got wasn't something I liked, but that job became I think at a certain point I realized this job is data entry. I'm not cut out for data entry. So they I think they fired me at the job because
Oh
uh
no.
because it was initially I liked it, I enjoyed it, but at a certain point I was like, oh me, I don't like this job. So I didn't want to quit. But because the pain is all it affects, your emotions,
Of
everything.
course.
So, but to cut this story short, over the years when I started working again, the insurance I got when I started working recently at like around 2014, 15,
Mm.
I got a better insurance. So I now said I had to revisit because I was in constant pain daily. Tramadol I even had to increase the dosage for tramadol. And even after increasing the dosage, I was still feeling pain. And, so we visited the issue. Um, at this point, I was always doing research. And the thing is, because one's cognition is also affected with pain. You can't really study extensively when you're in pain.
Yeah.
So I had to be pacing myself in terms of when I would do research about, whatever term I didn't know, to figure out like, the sacral nerves, the peripheral nerves, what peripheral nerves are in the pelvic floor region, just trying to understand what was going on. So a doctor diagnosed me for SI joint dysfunction in 2015. Um, because my insurance changed, my work, they changed the insurance carrier. So I started seeing another doctor. He picked up that diagnosis. He didn't even he just picked it up.
Mm.
And so, and they did, so typically for SI joint, they diagnose by giving you steroid injections.
Okay.
Based on that will serve as a diagnostic tool. But all the steroid injections I got for the SI joint, they did nothing to me. They
Hmm.
didn't help me at all. But the doctor continued and said surgery was now the option since those injections did not help. I didn't realize that if those injections did not help, there's almost 99.9 certainty of that the actual surgery would not help. So, but at that point I was desperate. I needed some solution. That period was when like most times when I got home, got home from work, I would literally just go lie down.
Hmm.
Literally just go lie down and I'll wake up the next morning because my body I was out excruciating pain. So I did this surgery. This was April 2017.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember.
yeah, yeah. And I wasn't I didn't really get any relief. I told the physician I didn't even know this could happen. The physician was extremely dismissive. See, he was trying to insinuate that I wasn't being strong or I was being a baby. But I knew there was because I had taken so much physical pain. So I knew there was something wrong. It's either this surgery did not really address the issue. So, but then I started going back to I had to even the tramadol I wanted to stop taking. I had to go back to taking tramadol even more. So
Wow.
but at that point I found out that you can actually do some pelvic pain physical therapy to help you manage the pain.
Hmm.
After that surgery, a couple of months or some months after, I started like weekly. I'd be going for chiro, going for physical therapy back to back,
Mhm.
just to make to manage the pain with and that kind of helped me. I stumbled across some pelvic pain specialists online that I had to pay for. That really helped me too. Then
Hmm.
fortunate thing is in 2018 I found within my insurance people that do that pelvic pain. So pelvic pain specialty because it's a specialty. So that
Yeah.
was what was helping me to manage my pain to kind of help my pelvic floor muscles relax because
Hmm.
there's so much tightness, the nerves, they've got so much tightness and tension. The muscles are kind of like extremely tight. Nothing more pain. So it's just a cycle.
Wow.
Cycle. So that helped to regulate, just give me some form of some form of relief. And with doing more research, I went out of state to try some experimental procedures like PRP, and PRP. Sometimes it's not a it's not a one size fit all treatment, So, but I tried it. Then I had something called low pulse radio frequency. So for the first time, I felt like there was a slight relief, a drop in pain intensity when I had PRP and pulse radio frequency to my pudendal nerves bilaterally. So that gave me an indication that all along the pain was so real. It wasn't in my head. It was real pain, but still the source of the pain that has not been addressed. So
Yeah.
I over the years I was taking like nerve blocks to different nerves, like coccygeal nerve block, um, ganglion impar nerve block, apart
Wow.
from nerve block, just trying to figure out which of these nerves, like, is it, and last year, I had a like caudal epidural that didn't work because I found a new pain management, because this is also the issue with you can ask me more questions, but I'm trying to cover how I navigated
No,
the
this
healthcare,
is great.
so one of the issues, like sometimes, depending if you have a HMO, even if you have PPO,
Okay.
sometimes there's limitations to like if you have a specialist in pain management, that specialist may be limited in the procedures they perform for some reason. Some specialists may not do pulse radio frequency treatment. Some specialists may not offer you Botox for muscle spasm. So that limitation, the specialist within your network or your group, he can only do what he can do. That's not really his area of specialty. So this, last year, 2020, the beginning, I found someone that within another network that could do pulse radio frequency and do Botox for piriformis muscle. So because the thing is, like, these areas, this like muscles, these nerves, these joints, they are so much in close proximity.
Yeah, to each other.
Exactly. And so the symptoms, they mimic each other, but you got to be able to, at one point, now figure out that, okay, this one is just responding to like the nerve impulses, it's not really the source of the pain, but so pulse radio frequency has helped me. However, it was not until the end of 2019 I had something called MR neurography. So I've been doing MRIs, X-rays, CT scans, but they never really showed anything conclusive. But MR neurography for the first time showed the nerves that, like, a lot of some, like my sciatic nerve and some area of my spinal nerves, had a lot of hyperintensity. I'd already treated my pudendal nerve, so I don't think it showed too much like hyperintensity that much compared, but my sciatic nerve and some spinal nerves were showing some level of hyperintensity. So, and I'd not really treated the sciatic nerve. So I'm at the point now, this point, I did some treatment to the spinal nerves, like the sacral spinal nerves last year. So at this point, I'm actually now going for the sciatic nerve, because the reality is all this journey I've been through could have been actually a problem started by the sciatic nerve, but in the sciatic notch, not in the lumbar, because it originates from the lumbar region, I think L5. But actually, sometimes because of the cause, the injury could have probably happened around the sciatic notch, and that sciatic notch has like 5 other nerves and the piriformis muscle. So it's like, so it's been a
yeah, a journey, and you had to learn a lot of medical jargon. You know so much, like at the medical school level. I'm like, wow, I mean, the Lord is your strength, you know,
Amen. Yeah.
He's your strength. And I just pray that, you know, they'll find a solution, you know, to what is going on in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen.
And there's a lot of key points that you made that I want to highlight. Like one, if people don't know this, like your insurance impacts your health care.
Yeah.
And not only just having insurance, but the type of insurance impacts the type of care that you have. And just as you mentioned, there's different types. And someone can be insured but underinsured, so they won't be able to get the health care that they truly need, especially depending on the condition that the individual has. And then also, you have to do your own research. You can't rely just on the physician. Like, as you said, initially you worked with a general practitioner. They're not specialized in this type of scenario. So of course they might just know what they remember in medical school, but it's good that you found a specialist that can actually help address your condition. So wow, yeah, that was a lot that you went through. But I just thank God for just preserving your life up until this point, you know. And so did the pandemic change the way you navigated the healthcare system at all?
Yes, to an extent, because physical therapy was suspended when the pandemic started. So I couldn't go in for physical therapy. And initially, the procedures I had last year, they had to push them down the line. They had to wait for some few months. So that kind of impacted, you know, the treatment. But I guess the main thing is physical therapy, because I feel COVID was huge last year, so they had to put it on the back burner, because so it affected it to an extent. But for some people, it even affected it more. Some people had and when I mean some people, because I joined Facebook forums and groups of people with people who deal with similar issues. I read about some people that the procedures they already scheduled, they had to reschedule things like so it probably affected other people more than it did for me, more than it affected mine. So
Wow, I can't imagine, like someone having hope to get a procedure done and then the pandemic just hit and they have to push it back.
yeah.
Wow.
Dude.
So I know you touched on Facebook groups and you have your Instagram, the Chronicles. So
Yes.
what sparked that interest in you sharing your story on Instagram?
So I realized that some people, when they go through things like this, they think they're the only ones dealing with issues like this. So it's important for them to understand that there are other people dealing with similar issues. Just to understand that you're not the only one. And the other thing is, um, just to give people hope that it can actually get better. Because there was a time when I couldn't sit down with you I couldn't even sit down this long, literally. I'll be in excruciating pain. So it can get better, literally. One has to be, you know, at one point proactive and take their health seriously, but it can definitely get better. So and the other thing is I'm working slowly but surely to try to find solutions that I've noticed in this space in the healthcare, dealing with chronic pain, how chronic pain even becomes chronic pain, because sometimes it's an issue of misdiagnosis or late diagnosis. So those issues, I feel like there's a way to find a solution to it. But one has to, in my own case, because my health takes priority, I'm taking my health as priority. Then gradually, when I'm slowly able to add more things on my plate, it's something I want to tackle. In fact, because I've used so many cushions, I came up with my own cushion that I made last year.
Wow.
And that's the cushion I'm sitting on that works better for me. So I feel like I've learned certain things. I can use those things to help other people, So
That's great because you know, you've experienced it. You don't want someone to have to go through all those.
Exactly.
Yeah, when you're like, okay, this is what worked for me, maybe it could work for you before you
Yeah.
start trying out different cushions and everything.
In fact, to have like a more holistic approach to it, it may not be exactly my own treatment pattern but to now to give people like options and how to navigate through. It may be something else completely, but just how to navigate through, how to understand your options, not to feel like, oh, when somebody tells you it's chronic, or like a doctor tells you this, I can't help you, because in the past I've had people tell me they can't help me. So that doesn't mean there's no help. Help doesn't exist. It's just that person can't help you.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
yeah.
And helping others advocate for themselves, because
Exactly.
sometimes it's self-advocacy that is needed,
Yeah.
you know. And so when you were starting this, you know, Instagram page, did you have any like resisting moments that you're just like, maybe I shouldn't do this?
Yes, to an extent, because I feel my background, we're kind of very superstitious and sentimental. When I mean background, I mean Nigerian background. Some people assume when you acknowledge pain, suffering, or something negative in your life, that means you're affirming it, or you're giving it more opportunity to take root. But that's actually not the case. That's not what truth is. In fact, the longer you avoid something like this, the worse it becomes. You avoid addressing issues like this. You know, some people think if you're exercising faith, you can just say, I don't have whatever, you know. But when it's even like, take for example, sin. You need to acknowledge that there's sin for you to be able to say repent and tell God to save you. If you don't acknowledge that this thing is here, but I need to address it. You know? So initially I felt, oh, might be like, oh, putting my life out there. But I realized that there's a bigger picture. There's something bigger than this. You know, we want to live, we all want like joyful, peaceful, calm, to enjoy life. That's the goal. So if this can help someone achieve that, then why not do it? And especially for me, I know the depth of physical pain that I've experienced.
Yeah.
I would have never imagined this kind of experience, that depth of physical pain before I went through what I went through. So being able to experience that, it's almost imperative for me to try to kind of educate people and let people understand, because sometimes if we don't experience something, we would never know how it feels. But just to let people have some insight into it, just some insight to understand. Because I like a lot of people, like my cushion, like I would take my cushion to several places. People would look at me funny, like even I've had like way back where people would even want to make jokes. Some people make joke about the cushion, but I understand they don't understand, and you can't really force people to understand. But what you can do is be vocal and let people that would gain from that experience gain from it, and become better for it. So
Yeah, just, you know, spread awareness to those that aren't experiencing it and helping those who are.
yeah.
And so why did you name your page The Chronic Cools?
Yeah, so it's in line with that idea that uh like it can always get better, and positive things can come about from it. The situation can become, turn around. You can use that as a platform to actually start impacting people. And the idea of chronic doesn't mean permanent. It doesn't mean it can't really get better. In fact, chronic in medical terms means a condition that has persisted for maybe 3 to 6 months thereabout without abating and becoming better. But reality is, after that 6 month mark or whatever mark it is, it can actually, the problem may be as a result of maybe misdiagnosis or diagnosis. So just to make people understand that chronicity or being chronic doesn't mean you can experience total complete healing or removal of that condition, or it can actually get better. It could, and it's wordplay, definitely, like chronicle, like chronicles,
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's nice. I was wondering, I was like, why did he name it that? But it makes sense.
Yeah.
And so a little bit about like your condition. How do you balance family, your career, and dealing with your condition daily?
Yeah. So I kind of I communicate with my family about my health and progress on a regular basis. I kind of communicate with them, and I at work I use a standing desk.
Oh, nice.
So and I pace myself a lot, and sometimes I try to do things depending on, I could see 15 minutes. Whenever I realize it's getting to a point where maybe I can't focus at all, I don't even, years ago, I would try to toughen it out, but the reality is you're making the case worse. It's going to start affecting your brain and everything else. So it's better to just pace yourself. It doesn't have to get to that point. Just pace yourself. And I try my best, but in light of the fact that my health is important, is important. And just being able to just take one's health seriously, communicate with things, don't overdo things. Your health is paramount. And one thing I wish I had known way back was the fact that lifestyle adjustments are important. I used to want to act as if there was nothing wrong, but that made my when I mean nothing wrong, like drive to somewhere, pick up stuff, do this, do that. But all those things made it extremely terrible. So you need to gauge what you can do and adjust accordingly. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. You just have to, like you said, adjust. And are there like any lifestyle adjustments you would want to share or?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think uh taking periodic breaks, and also the physical therapist I had, like 2008, throughout of 2008, 2009. No, I said 2018. My physical therapist then, 2019, she really helped me with meditation.
Mm,
I've not been consistent, but meditation, mindfulness meditation. There's an app called Headspace.
okay,
It,
yeah.
it kind of, because the thing is, like, if you're dealing with chronic pain over years, and if it affects your nerve, your body, it upregulates your system.
Mm,
You're going to be feeling restless for no reason. Like, you can't calm down for no reason. It's not like you're going to be feeling anxious. In fact, I
mm,
started my mind. There was a year that I had to take Seroquel. This was like early 2009, 2010, because my mind would keep racing. I won't be able to sleep. Like,
mm.
just from one thought to the other, just bouncing, 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 bouncing.
Wow.
So, and even to the point of, like, my mind became like very obsessive or sudden thoughts.
Mm,
I was wondering, is there a connection between pain and the mind?
mhm,
And when I did research, for some people, it could trigger things like that. So being able to meditate and find ways to be calm,
mm,
to relax, and as much as social media is a good platform, but I'm always is a balancing act. I'm always trying to limit social media, but sometimes use it, because I realize some things, they make you more anxious and they
mm,
stimulate you more. So being able to meditate, find ways to be calm. If you need to sleep, rest. Don't feel guilty. That you're sleeping and resting and relaxing. Because reality is your body needs it. Literally, if you don't do those things, when I've not had like good sleep, my body feels it, because my nerves, my muscles, they are tighter.
mm.
I feel more pain, literally.
Wow.
It's just that I feel more pain, my body detects it. So those things are important. Sleep, meditation, trying to relax, trying to live life, and make your life simpler. I simplify my life.
Mm,
When I mean I simplify, I don't try to do too much.
mm.
Because when I've tried to do too much, it made my symptoms worse, because your body can you need to, be sensitive to your body.
Definitely. Wow. Yeah, those are some really good points for everyone. How does faith play a role in what you are doing?
I think faith in God and believing in Jesus Christ has been a motivation for me. It's really been the thing that kind of kept me going, because when you think about it logically, there was a point I thought of that it's not practical, sustainable living with pain indefinitely, or like, what is the point really if you think about it logically?
Wow.
But I understand that based on what I've read in the Bible, the stories I've read about people's lives, real people's lives, and even after the Bible was written, God can use a situation and turn it around, and it's not always, you don't always feel it. It's not like something I always feel consistently, but there's kind of like a knowing of that reality, of that truth. There's like, because I've not always felt it. It's been trying and challenging, man, trying to reconcile the fact that I know that God loves me, but I'm going through this. It's difficult to reconcile. But when I read about Job, I realized that God even boasted about Job in the first place. But Job went through real pain and suffering. So those things kind of, they give me comfort and make me realize that something remarkable. I may not be like people want financial and some kind of 100% relief. I'm kind of certain that I'll get 100% relief because I'm in that trajectory. I'm towards that trajectory. So it might not be like becoming a millionaire or whatever, but the reality is something good can come out of it. And the person who determines what is good is actually God at this point. Because for me, I wouldn't ever want to go through this. Like literally, like I don't care what you pay me. This experience is terrible. It's excruciating because you feel like you're not. Sometimes in the past, I felt like I wasn't really living. I was just going through the motions, just existing. So, but God and faith in Jesus, knowing that God can use anything. He's got this, he can use anything. I've not always felt it. It's been a struggle. There's been times I ask God questions, like a lot of questions, man. So that's why I can relate with Job. A lot of questions about like why, what is the point of this kind of suffering?
Wow.
So,
Wow. Yeah, and I know that you have, like, you are a part of True Mantra, and we had you on the channel, and you were able to do that as well, despite the pain you're going through, and you're singing about, God's love and everything. So I'm just like, wow, like you're still serving God despite your pain.
yeah, but singing about those things is my way to go against what my body was feeling. That's just what it is. The reason why I sing about God's love is to, when I don't feel it, I sing it. That's why I do it. I don't feel it, but I can sing it because I know it. I know, even though I don't feel it momentarily, So, because feelings are very fickle, they come and go essentially. So
Very true. Very true. So what does living with purpose mean to you?
I think it's having a positive impact in the world through God's inspiration. You know, the for me, I feel like in any situation one finds oneself, one can live with purpose. One doesn't have to be, you know, uh, one profession or do certain things. Because I had a mindset of what I wanted to be in life. Like no one could tell me anything. I was going to do that thing. But even if that thing may not pan out, wherever you find yourself, you can impact people's life. You can make an impact with it. You can kind of create positive things from that experience, to have a positive impact, and I think God is ultimately the best inspiration for that, because being able to have an impact when your circumstance is not ideal or is not what you want,
Mm-hmm.
it's not gonna be easy. But if you open God, and if you rely on God, then that's where I guess the courage, the strength will come from.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and you have like your many testimonies throughout, your story. And it
Yeah.
just makes me think of the Bible verse that we overcome, the devil by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. Yeah. Wow. And so as we're wrapping up, what advice would you give to someone who is currently dealing with a chronic pain condition?
Yeah. So chronic doesn't always mean untreatable or permanent.
Mm.
You know, there's, it can be treated. It doesn't always mean that. And make lifestyle adjustments and be proactive in finding ways to kind of make your health better. You got to be proactive, because don't um, don't feel bad when you're making lifestyle adjustments. I think that was a struggle for me, because that was a struggle for me. If I could accept that, okay, maybe I needed to not do this activity, maybe I needed to not go to this place, maybe I needed to take my time, and it took me years to come to terms with that. But sometimes you need to do that to get better. Actually, you just need to do those to get better. And people would not understand. Some people may want to mischaracterize you because they don't really know what you're going through. But you got to understand the reason why you're doing what you're doing, and not let people make you feel guilty or shame because they don't experience the depth of that pain. Because if you allow things like this to linger, it can consume your whole life. Literally, I've read about a lot of people online. Like there's some, if you don't take things seriously on time, especially health, it can really just cause a lot of things. It can affect finances, relationships, just all that person's life. So you got to be proactive, make lifestyle adjustments, know that there's chronic doesn't mean permanent or treatable. Yeah.
That's great. So thank you so much for the Lanre for your time. You shed. Oh, you're welcome. Thank God. I thank God for this opportunity to have you to share your story. And I pray that this video blesses those who God has appointed it to bless in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you all so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, definitely subscribe, hit the bell so that you do not miss out on another episode of Living with Purpose. Until next time, God's blessings always. Take care.